tiers of mullioned windows in the Gothic-style facade of Palazzo Gambacorti overlook the River Arno. The austere front is decorated with alternate rows of black and white stone. Built beginning in the second half of the 14th century, over time it was used as a private dwelling and later a place for public offices and has undergone considerable changes internally. The City Council meets on the second floor, in a chamber decorated with imposing scenes celebrating the enterprises of the Pisan Republic on the seas. The fresco by Giacomo Farelli, painted in 1693, from which the room takes its name, describes Pisa's victory over the Balearic Islands. Standing with your back to the window, the wall on your right depicts the military excursions against Sardinia. The central one depicts the fall of Jerusalem during the First Crusade, and on your left is the victory over the Balearic Islands in 1113-1115. The city's last great military campaign against Islam in the Mediterranean. A 17th century Pisan might have seen these three victories as three stages in the city's glorious expansion, but in fact each of these campaigns was in response to different requirements and motivations. The expulsion of the Saracen king Mugahid from Sardinia, achieved with the help of Genoa in the early 10th century, was mainly to remove a dangerous threat that had established itself in the heart of the Tyrrhenian Sea and on the island of Sardinia, where the network of exchanges and the supply of certain raw materials were becoming increasingly important. The fall of Jerusalem was part of a much greater and more complex event, the First Crusade. Pisa joined it, probably more for political than for economic reasons. It's no coincidence that the Archbishop of Pisa, Diberto, was nominated first Patriarch of Free Jerusalem. Then, after the Balearic Islands exploit, there began an intense period of expansion for Pisa in the Provençal Catalan area that was changing rapidly at the beginning of the 12th century and becoming a very important crossroads for trade between the western Mediterranean and northern France. The choice of target was no coincidence. The Balearic Islands were in a strategic position halfway between Islamic Spain and Christian Europe. They were well known and very attractive to Italian, Provençal and Catalan merchants. The expedition, headed by Pisa in 1113, was, in fact, a true international coalition, blessed by the Pope, that included fleets and armies of the Count of Barcelona and Provence, and numerous cities in the Midi, among which were Arles, Montpellier, Saint-Gilles, Narbonne, Béziers, and Nîmes. The enterprise was long, expensive, and demanding, as we know from two poems written in Latin at the time, the Gesta Triumphalia and the Liber Mallorquinus. The fresco does not tell us of the many events, assaults and battles, exhortations and prayers, agreements and betrayals that took more than 2 years. It only describes the final act, when the two exceptional objects of plunder pay homage to the city of Pisa, depicted here as a queen on her throne. On the left is Abu Rabi, also known as King Burabe, captured and in chains carried prisoner to Pisa to the glory of Pisans. He was set free later at Easter, while at the feet of the city is a woman in chains with her son. She's the niece of King Al-Murtara, the emir mentioned in the inscription in San Sisto, and wife of the king. She, with a brother and an infant son, came of her own accord to Pisa with the Pisan army, and here put paganism aside and with her son took a Christian name. The story of the Queen of Majorca, the plunder of war, who was converted and whose epitaph is on the cathedral front, closed Pisa's epic anti-Islamic military ventures. Pisa was probably at the height of its powers in the Mediterranean by mid-12th century and appears to have realized that the role of protector of Christians in the Mediterranean no longer brought riches. On the contrary, at times it could be more damaging and compared to what could be achieved through diplomacy and trade. We have yet to discover how the ruling class in Pisa reached this decision. What we do know is that in the third decade of the 12th century, the production of poetic praise exalting Pisa as a second Rome or promoting the concept of crusades suddenly ceased. At the same time, the number of treaties with Islamic kingdoms in the Mediterranean multiplied. In 1693, Cosimo III de' Medici summoned Giacomo Farelli, a painter from Rome who had done a lot of work in Naples, to paint the 3 frescoes. These have been recently restored.